The composer of this song, Hillel Akel, is a Jew in Eretz Yisrael by the name of Rabbi Hillel Pali. And he recently shared a story. He has a daughter-in-law whose name is Batsheva Pali. She married his son, Reb Hillel's son. Last year, the night of Tu B'Av, there was a terrible bus accident near the mall Rav Shefa in Jerusalem. There was a bus without a driver, and the bus lost control and killed a mother and her two daughters, Shoshana Glashstein and her two daughters, Chayesara and Chana. One was 7 and one was 2. They died, they were killed together with their mother, who was pregnant, advanced pregnancy. There was another young woman there, Batsheva Pali, Rabbi Hillel Pali's daughter-in-law. She wasn't killed. She was taken to the hospital unconscious, but she lost both of her legs from above the knee. For a while, she was unconscious, and they sedated her, especially because of all the procedures they had to do. Finally, she woke up in the hospital. And her husband, who was just married to her for a short time, they were newlyweds, a new couple, fresh couple. He was sitting there. And what was her first question to him? This is not a question you planned for. This is a question she woke up. It was straight out of her soul. Boom, straight out of her soul to his soul. She looked at him and she said, "Tell me the truth. Would have you ever married me in this condition? Would you marry such a girl?" That was the question. Now you can understand what was behind the question. Behind the question is, are you going to stay married to me? And even if you stay married to me, do you want to stay married to me? Maybe you'll stay married to me because I'm a Rachmanis case, I'm a pity case. So it'll be a Nebuch on you and a Nebuch on me, 2 Nebuchs. But is this the woman you would marry? This was his question. This was her question. His father shared the story. His father said, this is not a question they prepare you for in yeshiva. It's like, what would Rabbi Akiva Eiger say, right? What would you don't get training for this question. How do you answer this question? He said he didn't know how great his son was, but then he learned how great his son was. His son looked at his wife and said, "You're asking me if before I married you, if I would have met a young woman who's missing both legs, would have I married her? Probably not. I would try to find somebody else." But that's a completely irrelevant question, because now we're married. So this is not a story that happened to you. This is a story that happened to us. And then he looked at his wife, Batsheva, and he said, "Ani rotzeh lichrot itach brit chadasha," which means, I want to create a new covenant with you. I want to renew our vows. I want to, so to speak, create a new type of marriage with you. That's what he told her. What was he saying? He was saying, I know this is not the old marriage. This is a different marriage. It's a different relationship. It's a different marriage. It's a different experience. Would have I chosen this? I would have not chosen this. Why should I choose it before I got married? Now I'm married to you. Now we're one. We're in this relationship. But we have to create a new covenant. A whole new covenant. Different paradigms, different expectations, different trajectory, different relationship. And Reb Hillel said, finally he understood the prayer in the Ilah. Those who daven Nusach Sfarad may not know it, but those who daven Nusach Ashkenaz, not in the Illa, it's in Musaf. Musaf of Yom Kippur after the Avodah. There's a line there. There's a line where the Jew says in the Musaf of Yom Kippur after the Avodah, turns to Hashem and says, "Telavev esra yosecha, tichrois la bris chadasha." Telavev, trigger, arouse the heart of your spouse, the Jewish people. Anura yosecha v'ata deideno, we're your spouse. Telavev, arouse the heart. Tichrois la bris chadasha. Create a new covenant with your spouse. Tikar nafsha be'einecha. Let her soul be precious in your eyes. Tetarena b'mayim tahirim. Cleanse her with pure water. Reb Hillel said he finally understood what the words are. Telave v'sayasecha. Tichrois la bris chadasha. Tikar nafsha be'einecha. If I may, it's not so comfortable, but I want to use the holy, sacred, priceless words of this young man to his wife, to touch us, each one in our own way. Nobody can ever compare one life to another life, one difficulty to another difficulty. It's foolish, it's pathetic, and it doesn't even make sense. But we could learn from each other because we're all connected. His wife asked him, "Would you have ever married me?" He didn't lie. He said no. I probably would have not married you. Right? He didn't lie. He wasn't inauthentic. Oh, sure. He wasn't in denial of the fact, of course he wouldn't have married her. He was a regular yeshiva. He would look for someone else. Not because, God forbid, he has anything against, because it's such a tragic, difficult situation. And he didn't lie to her about that. He said, "But you're talking to me after we got married." I think in so many of our lives, we have a trajectory what life is supposed to look like, what marriage is supposed to look like, what your children are supposed to look like, what you're supposed to look like. What is it based on? It's based on our own fantasies, based on our own imaginations. And then we confront the reality of our lives. What is the reality of your marriage? What is the reality of your children? What is the reality of your mental state? What is the reality of your soul? Suddenly you come face to face with your past, with your present, with adversity, with pain. Especially those of you who have dedicated time and energy to go on deeper journeys towards the inner recesses of your soul. And you emerge and you look at yourself, and it's the different person than you once imagined you were or you will be. And many of us remain stuck in frustration of what could have been, what should have been, what would have been. We're still triggered with anger and jealousy and frustration and resentment, which are normal. These are part of the human condition. We get it. We get it. This one is still stuck in what his children are supposed to look like, and what her children are supposed to look like, and what his career or home or emotional, psychological, spiritual, physical, financial state, any equation you want to use. And what does that do? What it does is two things. First of all, I'm spending much of my energy on something that doesn't exist. And more important, I can't be present to that which does exist. I can't show up to that which does exist. Telave v'esrayasecha tichrois labris chadasha. Tichrois labris chadasha means nobody can heal anybody else's pain. All I can do is face my own pain, stare at it, without averting my gaze, look at it without fear, or even if I have fear, not to allow the fear to dictate my life. to be able to look at it, to be able to embrace it with empathy, and to have the courage to create a new covenant with my reality, because this is my mission, because this is my journey, because this is my light that I need to bring to the world.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.